Have you tried this before?
Nope.
No.
No, I
Okay,
have not.
perfect. So it'll be our first time trying it out.
Nice.
And then here in the studio, um, we're not supposed to bring like drinks without tops. And when oh no, my last guest, when they were here, it wasn't a top. So when she was moving,
It
she
fell.
almost, the ball went like this.
So
I
close.
was so scared. I was like, it was like, I'm gonna get kicked out of here. You want ice or no ice?
Ice is fine.
Ice is fine. The whole, I had to preserve the ice.
All fancy. Got all your stuff.
Of course. If it wants to come out.
That is a very long.
Okay, not a good idea. Damn.
Okay, we'll pass on the ice. It's fine.
Okay, you're getting no ice.
Now we know.
Ooh.
Nice.
We'll just wait for it to melt.
Yeah.
Right. Do you like Coke with it or no?
Yes, we need to cook with that.
Yeah? Okay, then that means I have to serve you more.
Okay. Funny.
Oh, open it. Hope I can open it. Let me see. Give it a shot. Yep.
Nice. No, if I would have tried that, probably wouldn't have.
That's the perks of once becoming a drunkie. Here you go.
Upside of drinking
Oh,
a lot of
here.
alcohol.
Huh? There's a Coke just in case you need more. Oh,
Okay.
here's the top.
I was gonna
Don't drop it.
Give me the top.
Or else we're all getting kicked out.
Podcast ended. Get out.
First podcast and you're out.
That's about right.
How is it?
Wow.
Put some more Coke on.
Yeah. The whiskey's good for sure, but
Is it?
I've had like a,
Mm.
3-course meal. I'd be okay. But
That is good. That's good
it's
whiskey.
really smooth.
Yeah, it
There's
is.
not a whole lot of burn to it. I like it.
No, it's good.
I agree.
Hi, Rachel.
Hi, Omar.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
How was the drive over here?
Freeway, fine.
Uh-huh.
It's always getting from the apartment to the freeway.
Mm.
You know,
How long have you been here in Texas?
I've been here since January of 2017.
Oh, okay. Okay,
So-
so 3 years?
3 years.
3 years?
3 years, yeah.
How do you like it?
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing that I don't like is the summers because it's really, really hot and humidity. But
yeah.
it's tolerable. I mean, better than where I
Yes.
used to live. So. I'm
And I
good
feel
with
like you kind of get used to it, no?
it. You do.
Yeah.
You definitely acclimate to it.
Like when
Sure.
we got here last year, it felt really hot. It felt really
For
hot.
compared to California to here,
Yes.
absolutely.
Super
It's a
hot.
different heat.
Yes, yes. It's
Yeah.
like dry heat. Or you know what? But you know what? Last year it was more humid. I feel like it was more humid last
Yeah.
year.
Yeah, I agree.
But now this year, it doesn't feel as hot as last year to us. I don't know.
Well, I feel like August has been unusually hotter than normal. I
True.
think it's just the high humidity.
And even like
So-
last year, even after a couple months of us living here, my mother-in-law came over, and she said it was like super humid, and to us it wasn't really that bad.
Yeah, she's in California.
And she was
right?
from California, yeah, so she definitely felt it.
Yeah, when I was living in California, there were some days it was too humid.
Yeah.
And it just made it worse. But in Washington State, generally their summers are not really hot. But when it hits to be about 90, 95, we feel like we're in the middle of the Sahara Desert.
Really?
Because we get mostly rain, overcast, like, 11 months out of the year.
And where's that at?
Washington State.
Washington State.
Mm-hmm. So
Is it like here where when it's hot, and then when it's cold, it's like really cold? No.
no, they don't have they don't have real high temperature summers. They just don't. Like this year, I think it's been around 90, 95-ish, which
Mm-hmm.
is unusually hot for
Oh,
that area.
95 ish. That's not
Yeah,
bad.
up there. Yeah,
That's not bad.
but it's nice when it
How
is.
long were you there at Washington State?
So I was born and raised there.
Mm.
And then after I graduated high school, I went into the military.
Mm-hmm.
And then I moved back in 2011. And I was there up until 2016.
After the military,
Hmm.
and then you went as a for like as a Marine, right? Or what was it?
No, no. So when I enlisted, I got married.
Oh, okay.
And so I only did 4 years. But at the time, my ex-husband, he was still in the military. So at that point,
Oh.
we moved from
Oh, I see.
California. We went overseas.
Uh huh.
And then I came back in 2011. So
Where did you go overseas?
Japan, Okinawa.
Oh. How,
Amazing.
yeah. How
Amazing.
long were you in Japan?
I wasn't there too long. It was about a year.
That's
A
still
year and a half.
that's a good amount of time.
It is. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
That place, I mean, if there's anyone I could recommend going at least over in Asia, it definitely would be Japan. Whether it's mainland Japan or Okinawa.
And what
hands
year
down.
was that when you went to Japan?
We got there in 2010, early 2010.
Mm-hmm.
That's when we got there. It was it was crazy because I think we were there maybe 2 or 3 days. And when you're moving overseas, at least when you're PCSing with the family, they'll put you in like a hotel. Right,
Was
on
it called
base.
PC?
PCSing.
Do you know what it stands for?
And it's just you're just moving from one place to the other.
Okay.
So when we moved over there, we're in a hotel. I think by day 2 or 3, we experienced our first earthquake.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I was like, I did not sign up to come over here and have some earthquakes. Like this is not. I mean, California's one thing, right?
Right.
Okay, now you're on an island. That's a whole other thing.
Right. You
that
feel
was-
it more.
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And how? So you were there for a year, and how often was it like constant earthquakes all the time?
No, not really. I mean, they're definitely more common out there than they are here.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Even in California.
Right.
There's more common out there. But the big one, when they had the Fukushima plant,
Mm-hmm.
I was there for that.
Oh, really?
When they had the tsunami hit.
Oh, wow.
We, in Okinawa, we only got, I think maybe the highest was 6 feet
Uh-huh.
of water coming in.
That's still a lot.
It's still a lot, yeah.
6 feet is a lot.
Yeah, it was insane.
I'm 5'11", so that's a lot.
Yeah, it is. It is a lot. I mean, just coming in. So we had people, obviously they were living in the lowest lands, like right on close to the beach and stuff. They came all in. We'd put them on base or just the highest points that we could on the island, and we rode it out. But that was
Wow.
insane.
So while you were in Japan, did you learn how to speak Japanese?
Mhm.
Really?
Yeah, my kids. What's cool is that when they were in school, they would teach them how to speak, like how to count. Just like hello, goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
Your proper greetings of the day, like good morning, good afternoon, good evening, stuff like that.
That's cool. So do you still remember a lot of that?
Yeah, I do. Not a whole lot, but let's see, samase, it's like welcome to the store. At least I believe. I don't know. It's been a while, so nobody judge me. Like obviously, like konnichiwa. What are some of the other ones? I'm really drawing a blank right now. I'll think of them.
Is it because I was trying to learn Mandarin for a while.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
I
more
wouldn't.
complicated.
Extremely complicated.
Really?
To me. Yeah.
So
Well, Spanish is complicated, so.
yeah. But I feel like Mandarin is already complicated because even though you say it one way,
Mm-hmm.
it can mean so many other
Something
ways.
else.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Even if you take like one little word out.
Mm-hmm. It completely changes.
Yeah, exactly. It's
yeah.
it's so weird.
Yeah.
So would you say like Japan is like a good way to learn, and then like Japanese?
Yeah.
And then Mandarin?
Well,
No.
I would say if you were to choose between the two, I would definitely say Japanese,
Mm.
unless you're going to be devoted to speaking just straight
Yeah.
Mandarin.
And you kind of have to have people around you that
Speak it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Now, maybe I'll learn it. I'll practice it, and then maybe we could just talk in Japanese when we see each other.
We could.
That'd be
Definitely do that.
that's good practice.
It is. I'm trying to
Right?
do that at home with Spanish. What are you talking about? That would be different. People listen to me like, what are you you doing?
Well, maybe when we hang out, we'll speak nothing but Spanish, so
Oh
that
my
way you
gosh.
could get the hang of
Yeah,
it.
right?
Yeah.
That would be helpful. I've only been asking for years.
How do you
But
think? How do you? Because you went from, what was it, Washington to Japan, and then you
mhm.
also in California.
Yeah, so after high school in Washington, I went to boot camp in South Carolina, so Parris Island. I was a PI Marine, which all female recruits go there.
Mm-hmm.
Once we do that, we do what's called MCT, which is Marine Combat Training. And for me, it was Camp Johnson. So then I went from there to North Carolina, did about a month out there. And then after that, we would get our orders to go to our MOS school. So for me, my particular job was in Meridian, Mississippi. So unless you live there, nobody knows where that's at.
Mm-hmm.
Very small hole in the wall, but it was a naval station, so they had they had Navy out there training for certain jobs and other um, people in my field,
Mm-hmm.
my specific job out there. And then after that, I got orders to Camp Pendleton, California, where I did my whole enlistment. So.
So do you think from all that moving and transition, has that helped you, or how do you think?
Uh huh. I
Yeah.
think so.
Do you feel like you adapt to more things?
Mhm.
Really?
Mhm.
And because of
Absolutely.
that, do you want to do like traveling, or do you just, are you fed up with that and you're like, nope, I'm staying where I am?
If I didn't have kids still in school,
Uh-huh.
I would definitely be okay with just going and traveling to different places for sure. Because there's so many places to go to visit, whether it be in the United States or overseas, wherever.
Right.
I would definitely be able more open minded doing that. But with kids, that's kind of not an option.
Yes,
You know?
for sure. For sure.
If I was still in the military, I wouldn't have an option. And even then, being in the Marines, we don't go to all the cool places like the Air
Yes.
Force or the Army.
So
Navy.
how was the Marines for you?
I mean, the experience.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah.
Best time of my life. Yeah.
Was there ever a time in the Marines where you kind of felt like giving up, or you felt like it was too tough for you?
Um. No.
Really?
Yeah. Not really. I mean, boot camp was just the whole transitioning thing anyway, from being an individual to being a cohesive unit, right? To
Mhm.
get that mentality. Um, I really didn't struggle with that because, well, my dad was in the Navy, and so one of the key things is you need to be mentally tough because you have to understand when you're going
Right.
into boot camp, and it doesn't matter what branch, but when you're going into boot camp, you have to understand it's a mental thing. You need to be mentally prepared. They're gonna stress you physically. They're gonna do, you're gonna do intense training. You're gonna get yelled at. You're gonna get told to do this because somebody else messed up, and you're gonna be like, "What the hell? I didn't do that." They said they don't care. You're just part of it, so you're gonna do it.
Right.
If you can't handle that,
You're getting a break.
yeah, and you'll probably be, bye, or
Right.
don't even do it. Um, and that's obviously my thing. But for me, that my dad says, if you're not good up here, you're not going to make it. Because the Marines is 13 weeks. Boot camp is
Right.
13 weeks.
Damn.
So
So what do you think helped you become mentally strong?
just my parents, the way that I was raised.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
They kind of prepared you for that.
Yeah. And I had some friends that were friends with the family. My uncle was a Marine during Vietnam. That's a totally different era. But I had friends that I went to church with that were in the Marines. And they all and what I liked is that they were upfront. They're like, this is no, like,
Walk in the park.
fun place,
Right.
you know?
What did it say? It was brutal.
Yeah, they said it's not going to be, you're not there to have fun. You're not there to be, cushioned to have this princess type life.
Mm.
Like, you have to understand that.
Right.
You have to be able to handle people yelling at you
Right.
all the time
Really.
and having to pay the consequences because somebody was moving too slow or somebody was stealing stuff. Because that all happened while I was in boot camp.
What happens if you yell back?
I don't know because nor I nor anybody in my platoon ever yelled back.
Oh,
at her.
okay.
So that's not a thing. But typically, I would pretty sure that's. I don't know. That's a good question. See, this day and age, with the way things go,
Uh-huh.
could have a little stress card.
Mm.
I don't know.
Oh.
For me, we never tried that because we had respect. We knew who our drill
Right.
instructors were, what their purpose was, and they always tell you up front, "I'm your senior. These are my drill instructors. You're gonna address them as ma'am. You're gonna have respect. We're not gonna ask you to do things that ourselves would not do." And that's 100% true. Because
Right.
you got to do like the obstacle course,
Mm-hmm.
and you have these obstacles, and I'm obviously, you see how short I am. Some things I'm like, are they kidding me right now? Well, one of my
Uh,
drill instructors was like 5 foot shorter than me, and she
really?
was running through this thing like it was nothing. I was like, "What's my
Damn.
excuse?
Right.
Don't have one."
Right.
So it was a good confidence builder too.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of good things out of it.
Right. Because everybody there was pretty much doing the same thing.
Right.
So it's like, what's and somebody was there somebody like for your instance, you were short.
Definitely a shorter person.
So there was people that were probably even shorter than you.
Yep.
They're like, okay, well that person can do it, then what's my excuse?
Right.
Mm.
Right.
So when did you go to the Marines?
Um, August of 2000.
Um, and was there a lot of women during that time?
Yeah, I think
Oh, really?
when we started my platoon, I was in Papa Company, and we started with 75, and I think we graduated with 65.
Oh, that's not bad.
No, and there were some that were dropped out. Some of them they were like mentally shook. Like there was issues there, and so they were
Mm.
dropped. And there were some that got severely injured. They couldn't
Oh,
continue on with our platoon because our training it's based on weeks, right?
right.
So you have 3 phases. And then there are some that were released from med hold saying, "Hey, they're better, they're good, so we're going to attach them to your company
Oh,
so they can
okay.
finally graduate."
Mm.
So
So you even get people that used to do in the
mm,
past and then get brought up again.
right, right.
Oh.
Because if you're injured enough where they say, if we keep you in, you're not going to be able to pass.
Mhm.
So we're going to put you on med hold until you're better, and then when we can clear you, then you'll go to the next platoon that she would have been at if it was her original. Does that make sense?
Mm.
So if she
Mhm.
left at week 6, she's got to find a company that is at their 6 weeks, and she can get back on.
Mm.
So we had a couple that were like
Right.
that. Yeah.
So what are some of the fundamentals that you grasped on from being a Marine that now you use
Um,
from your day-to-day life?
well, my big thing is you just do it.
Mm.
Just suck it up
Just
and do it. I mean, and I'm sure my kids could probably admit to that. Um, but my thing is you just do it. I mean, you can always question if you think it's something that's unsafe or, it doesn't seem right, then you need to question it. But at that point, I'm like, if they tell you to do something, you just
right,
do it. And you do it with, efficiency and you do it fast,
right,
which is, for some people, that's great. For others, they're kind of like, Rachel, that's annoying. Just slow down.
right,
You're right before you mess it up. But for me, that's just the way.
right.
It's one of the good things I've really admired about getting when I was in the Marine Corps, for sure.
Just do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because in the Marines, just like you said, everybody's doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, what's your excuse? And that's also something that you can bring into, real time. That
Mm-hmm.
if this person did it, then why can't I?
Right. And
You
a lot
know?
of people feel like, well, they could do it. Well, why can't I? Well, maybe I have an excuse or I have a.
Mm,
And for me, sometimes the excuses are valid and it makes sense. But 9 times out of 10, if you're just going to say that and not prove it or, try to figure it out how to get to that point,
mm-hmm.
why are you crying? Like, why are
Right,
you whining and complaining about it?
right.
You know?
And then the Marine, did you hear people saying excuses?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And the drill instructor looks at them like you grew like a second head, and they just look at you like, okay, get out here on my quarter deck. And then, there was one time we were standing in line, and it was so it was the evening, is just before we go to bed, and we will count off. And her name was Recruit Harris. I can't remember her first name, but she was so cool. But we were standing there, and all of a sudden we did our count, and I start smelling something like gross. And I'm like,
Like
oh,
poop?
like somebody farted. And
Oh.
it stunk so stinking bad. I mean, it was so. And all of a sudden, I hear her go, and I kind of, she can't be looking like this because you're POA, position of
Right.
tension. And she starts laughing. I was like, oh. And at that point, I knew it was her. At that point, I start laughing. She starts laughing. And mind you, this is probably week 12.
Uh-huh.
No, we had already gone through the crucible. So this was the last week. And we're laughing as quietly as we can. And another girl who's across, her name was Recruit Hepler, but they all called her Helper. Her name was Hepler. She sat across from us, and she was just like, what is that? And she mouthed it. And so my drill
Oh.
instructor, who at that time, I met her later on when I was in the fleet, but she worked out. She was an avid
Uh-huh.
gym person.
Oh.
She was cool, but I never was put on the quarter deck because I messed up. If I was on the quarter deck getting IT'd, it was because somebody did something. They weren't fast enough or they did something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So she finally called me up there. I
Mm-hmm.
was like, Hallford.
Uh-huh.
Hi, ma'am. And I was laughing the whole time. She goes, oh, you think that's funny? I'm like, no, ma'am. And I'm just laughing.
Wow.
And, it was such an amazing, it was funny, but stories.
And I would imagine that one of the cool things about it is that also it's very team oriented.
Very much so.
Mm.
There's a part in the Crucible where they give you these tasks, and you're breaking down into fire teams. And they'll say, okay, you have the one I remember the most, 'cause it's been so long. So you have these like pillars, right? They're just kind of spaced out like this. And then you have these planks. You have to be able to put these planks down with however many that are given. You have to be able to plank them, and then you have to be able to walk your whole fire team across
Oh.
and pick the boards up in the way. So the thing is when you're trying to do that, you have a lot of people saying, that's not going to work, or no, we need to do it this way. You have to really figure out how you're going to get it to work and to accomplish it.
Right.
So the Crucible is a huge test to, okay, you're going to do it. And our drill instructors would be like, this is what you have to do, so do it. And they wouldn't tell us what to do, how to fix it. They just made us do it. And we were successful.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Because you guys would figure out on your own
we have to.
as a team.
We have to.
Right. Yeah. And you know what? I feel like that's very important because when you're going into, let's say you finish the Marines or whatever branch you're in and you go to a company, you got to take into consideration, or a job or whatever, you got to take into consideration that it's no longer just you.
Correct.
Now you have a team. Now, you have all these people that you got to look out for, and you got to work together in order to succeed.
Right.
And I don't know if there's any other place where you can get that. I mean, e- uh, even if it's maybe someone can guide you and can teach you about that, but those that don't have anybody to guide them, would you say that, like, I think the best place would kind of be like, military or some type of branch.
It would be. And there's some people who, obviously they're not going to go into the military, but sometimes they don't know they have that attribute until they're put in that situation. And there's some people that maybe do know that, and that's great. But there's some people that be like in their situation, and the people like, hey, okay, I know if I have this, I can give it to her.
Right.
Or I have this situation, or this is where we're at. I know I can give it to him, and I know he's going to figure out where we need to, where the loophole is, or whatever it is. And I feel like there are certain jobs out there aside from the military that it's kind of one of those, either going to sink or swim.
Right.
And then I think that'll weed out the people who'll be able to understand that.
And do you kind of see there who is an actual leader and who's actually just a follower?
Yeah. And you do have that. And there's sometimes you have a lot of leaders and not so many followers, and
which is good.
It is good, but you'll have to be on the same page. If you're not all on the same page, that's where you're going to have a dysfunction, and then it's going to be.
And then you have everybody
much.
Competing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but again, it always boils down to the job. I think too.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you use some of the fundamentals that you gather from the Marines at home with your kids?
Oh my gosh. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And they hate it. Because Emily's always like, I'm not you, Mom. I don't just do it like that. I'm like, and then my mind just like explodes. Because I'm like, what do you mean you can't? Just do it. I can't do it. I'm like, oh my God.
And then do they end up doing it?
Sometimes. And they do it half.
Half-ass.
Yeah, pretty much. They do half-ass. And it's like, I'm not going to do it your way. And sometimes I think those them just being like, man, jab at Mom. You just don't do it that way. Anyway.
And then do you encourage them to go to like the Marines or any type of branch of that?
Okay, so the one thing about Marines is that we have that pride, and it goes with us till we're dead. We are very, very prideful in that department for being Marines, because we're the best of the best.
That's good. It's like you earn it. Because
That was the
everything,
biggest
everything that
thing.
you go through.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
you're not a
fine.
Marine until you have your Eagle Globe and Anchor, which you're not given until you're coming on your last trek of 10 miles and you're packed and you're tired, you're
You have to run
exhausted, you're
10
sleep
miles.
deprived. No, you're hiking.
Oh, hiking
Yeah.
for
So you have like
10
your
miles.
packs, you have your weapon. Yeah. And that's after doing 3 days and getting minimal sleep. You're in this little horribly, hopefully, the person that you're with can help you build your tent really well.
Oh, so did they
uh,
throw you out and like?
Yeah. So they would put us all. And if that's for the Crucible, it would be males and females. Obviously, we wouldn't be sleeping in the same area. We'd have our females over here, and then the males would be here. But we were all doing the same thing, just rotating through. But you had like no sleep. So at the end of that trek, when you're exhausted, you're sleep deprived, you're hungry, you want to sleep, you want to be done, like I'm done. And then you walk back, and then they have the ceremony, and you stand there, and then a lot of us are like in tears because we dealt with the crap and all the games and the mental breakdown stuff that we go through and stuff. And we finally get that Eagle Anchor, and it's like, son of a bitch, I did it. I earned this. I own this. And that's kind of something we just generally as Marines.
Right. Is that how you felt when you earned?
Oh, heck yeah. Oh, yeah. I was a Marine now. Are you kidding me? I'm not in the Navy like my dad, not in the Navy like my uncle or my, grandfather that was in the Air Force or the Army.
Uh-huh.
No. I was a Marine. I think I'm the only Marine. I am the only Marine in my family with the exception of my uncle. He married into the family. Oh, I take that back. My grandpa was a Marine in World War II.
So, is any of your kids going as Marine?
No. I mean, I'm going to push him for going to the Marines. That's the way it is. Okay, let's just call a spade a spade.
Make them suffer.
Yeah. But my kids don't have my personality, so to speak, in certain regards. So there may be other branches. One that may be more accommodating to how they think. And maybe there's better opportunity for jobs for MOSs, as opposed to the Marines. I know in the Marine Corps, if you want a medical field, you ain't going to get it because we don't have medical MOSs. We're a department of the Navy. So when we're sick, we go see our corpsman, who's in the Navy, and they take care of us. They just give us water and ibuprofen and call it a day.
The Marines are the savages.
Pretty much. We just run into things, destroy stuff, and then we leave. And then the Army comes in and they hang out. They're like, all right, cool, we got it. And they hang out.
They clean it up.
Pretty much. They're more of like an occupying branch. I mean, and I'm talking like as a general. I'm not talking about our special ops divisions or anything like that. Those are very different entities as a whole. But yeah, Ryan, he's in the Air Force and he's stationed up in Shepherd Air Force Base.
That's gotta be cool too.
Yeah.
The Air Force.
Yeah. And Emily, I think she's deciding between Navy and the Air Force. She's probably gonna go in the Navy.
Or is that where you want her to go?
I want her to. I'm just going to talk crap to my kids because they're not Marines. And I do it to my son all the time. He's like, well, at least, Mom, I don't eat red crayons. And I'm like, good. Because that's just the thing. Marines like to eat red crayons.
What?
Not literally. I'm just saying. It's a thing. It's a thing.
I'm worried.
Yeah, I go home and I ask Marvin to cook me some milk. Can you melt me some red crayons? Dude, he'd be like, I'm out. But no, I think they're gonna go where they want, what makes them happy. And if it's gonna be a different branch, then so be it. Because it's their life. It's not mine. I just get them to 18, try to raise them and teach them the best that I can, which I'm a parent, and sometimes parents suck. We're not good at it. It's a learning thing.
We're all trying to do our best.
Right, and that's all you can do.
Yep.
So
That's what we have.
Right.
Yeah.
So we just get to that point, and then we just let them go.
Right.
So if she wants to do it, then if it makes her happy,
right,
by all means.
Right. Yeah.
And
all you're doing is pretty much doing what kind of your parents did, getting them mentally healthy and mentally strong for whatever they may overcome.
Right.
And that's all you can do.
Yeah.
The rest is
Absolutely.
just do it.
Yeah. Literally. It's going to, there you go.
Yeah.
I mean, my son, he called me, I think, in boot camp, and he kind of had a moment, and he was like, Mom, I just quit. And I went, wait, what? You can't do that. But he explained to me the circumstances of it, and they felt like they just weren't getting, they signed up for this. This is something they wanted to do, and they felt like they weren't getting the training that they deserved or that they wanted. And so it wasn't just him. It was quite a few others that said, with all due respect, if this is what we're going to get, we're going to pack up and leave. And my son was one of those who made that choice. And when he did, he went back to his rack and he started packing with other recruits that he was with them. And he, I guess, I call them senior drill instructors. I don't know what the Air Force calls them, but it would be the equivalent of a senior drill instructor.
Mm.
Came out and said, nope, stop. School circle, which, again, I'm old school. Have everybody come sit down and let's talk. And he says, everybody who made that decision, you did the right thing.
Right.
And they're like, nobody's going anywhere. And so they made, they had this adjusting period. But he called me and he was like, don't embarrass him because he may be on here. Really. But he was pretty upset. And he's like, Mom, he goes, this is all I have. He's like, this is what I've been training my whole life to do, And I said, well, if you did it and it was the right thing to do, then you can't expect me or your father to be upset with you.
Right.
Because he was really worried about that.
Right.
But there was a point for him, and he just kind of, at a moment where he's like, I quit, and I don't know.
Right.
At that point, I said,
that's that's okay.
It is okay.
Yeah.
It's totally okay. And I'm glad
Yeah.
he felt comfortable coming and talk to me about that.
Yes.
And I said, you know what? It's okay.
Right.
I said, as long as you're doing the right thing, for the right purposes,
Right.
that's all you can do.
Right.
And
That's
it
all that
may be
matters.
painful, may be hard, but it's okay.
Right. Yeah,
And
that's
after that, he was like, all right. And that's what I try to teach all my kids. Like, life sucks sometimes. You get lemonade, you get lemons, and somebody you try to make lemonade,
yeah.
and it still isn't enough.
Right.
But you just take what you can and you push through. As hard as it
Right.
is,
Yeah. And before you know it, 10 years from now,
Yeah,
it might turn out that we were the worst parents ever.
Right. What you did,
just
Mom?
like, just looking at now from all the years,
Yeah.
I try not to, put a lot of blame on my parents. But I mean, you gotta understand that they were probably. I mean, if we think our childhood was bad, imagine theirs.
Right.
I
I think we forget that.
Yes.
I think the kids, especially now, this generation that's coming up, does forget that. Does that mean that we need to be like, oh, it was so rough, so we have to live like that? No.
Right.
But just remember where you came from. It's just things are different.
And you know what? At least we, most of us at least had a childhood. Like, my mom would tell me that her growing up, especially with other brothers and sisters, they had to look out for each other.
Right.
And I mean, they weren't making the best money,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like everybody had to work.
Yep.
My parents, they didn't get like super high education. They probably I think my dad just went to like first grade and that's it. After that, he had to go to work.
My grandmother, she only had a 7th grade education. This was the time of the Great Depression.
Oh,
So a little, again, different, but they still had their own individual hardships when they were kids, right? So our parents, our grandparents, our great-great-grandparents and such.
right.
Yeah, it's
Tough.
a thing.
Yeah.
It's a thing.
How, did she tell you about how it was during the Great Depression?
No, not really. She just would have, so my grandma, it was the oldest of 9 girls, but there was 3 boys.
Uh-huh.
So she really didn't talk much about it.
Uh-huh.
But she quit school and
Uh-huh.
came home to help.
Wow.
And they lived on a farm at the time. I can't remember if it was Rhode Island or Putnam, Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to ask one of my great aunts. I only have like 2 or 3 great aunts alive.
Mm-hmm.
But she never talked much about it. It's just, bits and pieces I've heard because,
Right.
my aunt and
And that's another thing is like, not only were you not allowed to, have a childhood, but, back in the day, they used to have, like a minimum of like 7, 8 kids.
yeah. It's like it's a little tribe. No thanks.
Yes. Yeah.
I have 4. I'm like, overwhelmed.
I
So-
have one.
I know, right?
Yeah, but like I said, we're doing the best we can. And
That's
like
all
I
we
said,
can
my mom, she would tell me that growing up, she had to cook for her brothers and sisters, especially if you're the oldest. So if you're the
Yeah.
oldest, if you're a girl, you're technically the second mom.
That's like
If-
it's a cultural thing. Do you
Yes.
think? Yeah.
Oh yeah, that too.
Because
Yeah.
I don't think my. My aunt, I think, just because of her personality, and
Uh-huh.
Jerry, she's just like that. She's very nurturing. And
Right.
she'll do that. She'll take all that on and do it with a smile and, with love and humility and,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Like as living in Mexico, maybe it was like that, like a cultural tribe thing,
yeah,
to where whoever's the oldest, okay, now you're the one responsible. Now you're the one supposed to take care of your brothers and sisters,
yeah,
feed them. So it's like, what childhood is that?
right.
And on top of that, they were getting married,
Like
14,
14,
15,
15?
16.
Yeah. That's
So it's like,
insane to me.
yeah, it is.
It's crazy.
It is.
I don't even, ugh.
And it's like, they didn't they don't get to go on party and go to the
No.
club and all this stuff. No.
They didn't get to be kids.
No.
They were a kid when they were like a toddler,
Right.
and then they get to be that age where they have that
Right.
responsibility. And that's hard.
Yes.
It's hard.
So they have to learn how to be parents from
very, very young.
15 to 20.
Yeah. Nope. Can do it.
It's like before you even get to know yourself,
Yeah.
you have to know your kids.
Or know what you're about. Yeah. Right? Who I am. Do I like this? I don't know. Is this a thing? Maybe.
Yeah.
You know? You don't know.
Yeah.
That's a hard thing
Yeah.
to
And
be.
it's like, even
you know.
it gets me sad when there's people out there that, say, you know what, mom, dad, it was your fault. I went through this, blah, blah. But it's like, some of them,
Mhm.
some of those parents were actually trying to do their best. They did the best they can with
Mhm.
tools that they have.
Right.
Luckily
100%.
now there's more, there's more education, there's more people speaking about it.
Mhm.
There's more, there's therapists, there's counselors, there's all this stuff.
Right.
So if you're a bad parent, I mean, now you have no excuse.
Right. Right. You don't have what is
Right.
your real excuse?
Yes,
You know?
the information is out there, and it's for free. It's in books, it's in video, it's in YouTube, it's in
I mean,
Facebook, it's everywhere.
Library memberships totally
Yes.
free.
Yes.
And we just it's funny because we just went to the library in McKinney,
Oh, nice.
and I was like, there's so much knowledge in here. Just if you have questions, you don't understand, pick up a book and read. A lot of people feel like they don't have that. It's got to be on a phone. It's got to be on the media, or
And it's gonna be like 2 sentences long.
Oh, God forbid you people look past that. Do some research. I'm just saying. It's one of my pet peeves. 2 sentences and that, and I'm like, what? I don't know.
Yeah,
It's a thing.
it is
I
a
don't get
thing.
it. I just don't get it.
So now you are what is it? A police dispatcher?
So I'm a
Oh,
dispatcher. Yeah.
dispatcher. Is
Mhm.
that just it? Dispatcher?
Well, it's called telecommunicator.
Oh.
But basically, for my specific agency.
Or a phone operator? Just kidding.
Oh, you want to call it that too? That's fine. Hello. No. Telecommunicator. But my
Telecommunicator.
specific
Uh-huh.
dispatch, we dispatch for police and fire.
Oh, really?
And we
Oh.
take all the phone calls when people call 911 or non-emergency.
Right.
And we deal with NCIC, which is
NCIC.
a big database
Oh,
of
okay.
stuff.
Uh huh.
And that's pretty much that's all we do.
Mm-hmm.
We just take the calls, put in the notes,
Uh huh.
or depending on who we're dispatching, if it's a EMS call,
Right.
we'll dispatch the fire department, or if it's police, we'll dispatch PD.
Mm.
So,
Do you think the being a marine has helped you with that?
yeah,
Really?
because I can
Also-
compartmentalize. Because sometimes you'll get like I'm not the Karens of the world. Sorry if you're a Karen, honestly. But I mean,
What?
or there's Carls. I mean, in the Marine Corps, we call them Carls. Like, shut up, Carl.
Ah.
It's a thing. And don't people are
Right.
offended by that. Anyway.
It's just
it's a
it's funny. I mean, at the end of the day, they're just words.
It is. It's not. It doesn't mean that you're
Right.
That, you know.
Yes.
But if the shoe fits, own it at least.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But we have people that'll call in and be like, they are being so loud. Their kid is running up and down. They're just jumping around. It's going on for 10 minutes, and I can't deal with it.
What?
I'm like, okay. Or can I go buy my air conditioner? I'm sorry, what?
What?
Oh, we have.
What was that?
So I think this person that called, he's probably senior. I mean, he was a very sweet gentleman.
Okay.
But he had called in and he was asking because I don't even remember what the call was about. I don't know if it was about. Wait, I think power went out, something
Oh,
like that.
okay.
I don't know.
Oh,
But he had called and he's like, "Can I buy an air conditioning unit?" And it took me when I said, "I'm sorry, sir. Did you just ask if you could buy an air conditioner?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "If COVID, that's what it was. It was the beginning of COVID." And he goes, "Well, can I go buy one?" And I said, "Well, sir, you can go buy whatever you want." He goes,
like,
"But
well, do you have money?
no." But he goes, "But are they going to price gouge me?" And I'm like, "Sir, they're not allowed to do that." For circumstances, if it's like a global or epidemic or
What do you mean
pandemic, price gouge. Like, it's normally $200, but because of COVID, it's 350
Oh,
price gouge.
oh,
So
I
they just
see, I see.
lower
Okay,
price it.
okay.
And I'm sitting there and I'm putting them, and we're laughing because I'm like, what? But in his eyes, he doesn't know because he's worried about that. Because if he's on a fixed income, he doesn't know,
Right.
right? So he's just calling to get the information. So we get everything from that to,
Wow.
My son is throwing stuff.
What?
What? Mute. What? Unmute. I'm sorry, sir. But we do. We do. It's true. But we have some of those, and for us, I mean, and in my mind, I could sit there and go, if that was my kid, first of all, I wouldn't be calling you to handle my kid
Yeah.
throwing stuff.
Or call your mom.
Yeah, I would be.
Call grandma. Call somebody else.
Yeah, not us. But
Yeah.
we'll still go. We'll still go out and we'll tell the kid, stop it,
Right.
behave, listen to your parents,
Right.
and then that same dad will call back an hour later.
Wow.
Because they don't have it's not control of their children, it's just getting them to understand that I'm the parent and you're the child. If I tell you to get off your Xbox, you need to get off your Xbox.
But what did like those people? What do they think that you're gonna do? Like, what are they
I don't
expecting for you to send like a police officer and?
when we do,
Oh, really?
because they're causing a disturbance.
Oh.
So any kind of disturbance calls, whether it's a kid, whether it's a woman, a male,
Wow.
or somebody's doing something to your child, we go.
Mm.
And all we know is the situation. And that's one thing about being a dispatcher is we are first responders because we hear it.
Right.
We hear what's
Yes.
going on, and they're telling us
Yes.
what's going on. Officers see something completely different because they're there on scene. They're seeing what
Right.
we were told.
That's kind of even worse, no? Because even though,
Yeah.
well,
sometimes.
because you're hearing it, but you're not seeing it, so sometimes it may sound worse than
Than
it
it is.
actually is.
And
Yes.
sometimes it's worse than what the person is because we've had people call and it's like, and then when we read the reports later, we're going, oh, that's what happened. Like what?
Oh,
So I don't know. Dispatching is
it's like one of those.
It's a thing.
It's another thing that you said that you have to be mentally strong to take. Not only like in the Marines, you were taking physical damage.
Right.
Now you're taking mental damage.
Right.
So
It's different.
Yes,
It's a different kind of thing, and that's one thing too I loved about the Marines is I can compartmentalize. So if I have somebody that's calling and saying, "Yeah, I just want to end my life." Now, there's some calls that I take that I am more sensitive to, but I also know at the end of the day, my job is to make sure I get this person help. I listen to them and I talk to them regardless of the context of the phone conversation. Whether it's they're going to complain about their neighbor, or they're going to complain about a dog, whatever. They're having a hard day. Don't care. That's what we are there for, and that's what we're going to do.
That's good.
But you still have to be able to take that situation, compartmentalize, go through with it. Okay, done. And then you're going on to the next call, and then you're going on to the next call.
So do you go home like
Like a nut?
normal?
Like crazy? Like I walk out and I'm like, oh yeah. No. Although Marvin and my kids may say something different. I don't know. But there's some days that I'm like, whoa. Like it's just, oh my gosh, it was just a busy day, We have come down and do that. And sometimes I take some calls and I'm just kind of like,
Do you meditate after or
no, not at all.
have you thought about that?
No, I'm not.
Really?
I'm not a meditator. I'm just not.
What about breathing? Do you like?
I do that at work when I get into the call.
Okay.
Sometimes, and if I get to a point where I'm like, I got to step out.
Right.
It's because either I'm really angry because the caller wasn't giving the information that I needed and it was something different and I needed to send this, those, or that was a rough call. I'm going to go step outside.
Right.
And typically we do that. And what's nice is that we have people that have gone through the training that'll be there. Like, hey, I know you took this call. You want to talk about it? Which is really, really
So
good.
you have, if like it's serious calls, so you're saying that there's like some counselors that speak
Right.
to
So we
you?
have,
That's
so we have
good.
well,
Okay.
they work on our shift. And so they'll say, hey, I saw the, heard this, you took this call. How are you dealing with it?
Mm.
And I'm like, it was fine. Or I'll say, this is what really frustrated me, or this kind of got to me, which I'm telling you, and
Wow.
those are
How great would it be if you had a counselor like in every company?
that'd be amazing because it'd probably help a lot of people.
Yes.
Because some people can't handle some of the mental strain of certain jobs or certain situations.
Yes.
And if they have somebody that they could talk to, I think it'd be very beneficial.
And just when you're dealing with other people that don't think alike,
Yep.
there's bound to be like a discussion, an
Absolutely.
argument, or something. So, and that's great that in your department that there's a counselor there that you can speak to.
Yeah,
That's
it is.
a big plus.
I think that's a lifeline for a lot
Yes.
of if your dispatch or your area has something like that, and they always offer it too, whether it's in their local dispatch or somewhere else.
Oh,
but
really?
they do offer it. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is there just one counselor for everybody, or?
No. So what it is, it's not like a specific like her job as a counselor. What it is she's like my supervisor, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
She's one of those people that went through the training. She went through the classes. This is how you handle, is there ways to talk to them or whatever. But they would just come and talk to me. I have a couple on my shift. And they would just say, hey, I just got the call. This is what it was. How are you feeling? How you feel about that? Do you think it was okay? Were you able to, whatever it was.
Right.
So that's always nice. And the shift that I have, I love my girls. Like I love my entire team that I have that I work with my shift. I love everybody in my dispatch unit as a whole. All the ladies I've ever worked with on any shift.
Mm-hmm.
And the guys, we do have male dispatchers. They're good people. And you can learn a lot from all of them.
Yes.
Which is great.
Yeah. That's another thing too, is like instead of worrying about the other person and about the other person's dislikes.
Yeah.
And their arguments, how about you just focus on what you can learn from them?
Right. Absolutely.
Wow.
100%.
So, and how's the training for it? How do they prepare you to be
So there's
a dispatcher?
There's no real preparedness for it. It's one of those things that, when you go in for your oral board, they'll say, okay, you have somebody calling on 911 saying that their baby's not breathing, and then all of a sudden somebody keys up on the radio and says, shots fired, code 6. And you're going, oh, what, wait, what? And if you've never dispatched before, you're going to go, is it the officer because shots fired, or is it? And there is no real right answer if you've never done it before, right? Because you're not going to know.
Right.
But they'll take that situation and they'll ask you about it. And then they'll say, okay, in your time, in your previous jobs, have you ever had this, or this happen? Has there ever been a point where you felt like you've had to overcome something? And I'm like, yeah. So they start with that, and then you'll kind of get a feel for what it is you're going to be going into. But then once you get down into and then when you can have a chance, if you can at all in your city, your county, say, hey, can I just do a sit down and see what dispatch is like? If you're able to do that after COVID, obviously, do it. Because then you can kind of get a behind the look scene of what a dispatcher does and what it is that they're dealing with. Because some people are like, 911 doesn't do anything. I just call them, and then people show up.
Right.
There's different aspects, believe it or not.
Right.
But I think if they do that, that would be good. But
right.
So you go through that, and then you sit down and you go through your phases. So the first part for us is call taking. So that's picking up the phone. They tell you the primary information you need first is where am I going, and what am I sending them to. So that's why the first thing, and I cannot say this enough. If you're calling 911, give us your address first.
Okay.
If you don't know the apartment, whatever.
Or where you're at.
Or get a cross street. I mean, we have a way of seeing, we'll have like a general area.
Okay.
So unless you're like on a landline or something, or on a VoIP, we just kind of have a parameter. But first thing to do is give us your address so we know where we're going. And the next thing I'm going to ask you is, depending on the type of call, if it's a 911, my husband, he's hitting me, he's throwing stuff at me, he's out of control, I don't know what to do. Or send the police right away, hurry. Okay, well, sometimes callers will give us that address, and then they'll give us what we're going to, and then I can send it. And then my police dispatcher's like on it, and they've already got units en route. So once we get to that phase of, we get to what we're going to, then we ask them questions.
Oh, okay. So as soon as you give your police dispatcher the address, that's when they take off.
They need to know what they're going to, because there's different call types that we put in that have different priorities. So let's say like an injury crash,
Oh, right.
right?
Yeah.
So we're going to send 4 fire department units, and we're going to send 2 to 3 officers. It just depends where it's at, and they'll go. If you have domestic calls, like disturbance, those are, for us, are priority 2. So we're going to send our 2 closest units. If you have like this car's been parked in front of my house for like 2 hours, and I don't know who it belongs to.
Right.
Okay, you're a priority 6. If we have officers available, we'll get them to you.
Eventually.
Eventually.
Yeah.
Some of those are just like,
That makes sense. I mean, you
Right.
gotta prioritize.
right. So once we do that, then they'll go, whether it be fire or it'll be just EMS, or hey, you know what, my dad fell. I need some help lifting him up, or oh my gosh, she's passed out. Is she awake? No. Is she breathing? I don't know. I mean, everything.
So that's why when you call, you're asking all these questions because you're trying to put it okay.
Right.
That's
So I need
priority.
to put in. So I put it in, and they say, okay, it's a disturbance, and okay, I'm gonna ask, okay, who's the person that's hurting you? Okay, and I put their name in there. It says, okay, what does he look like? What is he wearing? Is he still there? Does he know you called the police? Do you see any weapons? Is he intoxicated? And sometimes, and again, when you're calling 911, you feel like it's annoying. Why are you answering me? Why are you asking me all these questions? Like, why
Yeah.
can't you just get here? And it's not because we're not trying to get them there, because they're going to get there.
Right.
But we need to know this information, because what if you're on the phone with me and all of a sudden he takes off, or all of a sudden you're not talking anymore? I need to
Yes.
know what's going on so I can tell my officers, hey, this is what you're going into. It's about safety for them. It's and also safety for our officers, because we need to know
Right.
so we know what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
So, and for some people, it's like, can you just send them already? And I'm like,
It's
I
like,
get
provide me
frustrated.
your address.
Yeah. And you'd be surprised. It's like, I'm not going to say the city I work for, but, 911, where's the address of your emergency? And they'll go, so my son was outside on ma'am, I need to know whatever you're at.
Right.
And sometimes it takes a moment, and depending on their age, they'll struggle a little bit, or they'll say, I don't know, I've never been here before. I'm from out of town, and I don't, okay, give me cross streets,
Right.
So you go through that phase. That's 6 weeks of training. That's reading, a lot of reading. That's listening to the dispatcher that's training you, listening to them, how they take the calls, how they handle the different call types.
Okay.
And you'll learn a lot of stuff from these, because my call taker who trained me,
Right.
she's been there for quite a while, and she's an amazing trainer.
Right.
And she helps a lot too. So you have through that, and then once you're done with that, you go through what's called, you have 2 weeks that you go through deep nights, and deep nights is from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Wow.
And depending on the night, it can be brutally of like, I'm just trying to stay awake, to complete chaos. What is going on?
Damn.
It's pretty busy.
Are you sleeping enough? Or
Well, it's only 2 weeks. So if you go from like, I'm coming in at 6 a.m. and I'm off at 2, and then after 4 weeks of doing that, I'm going to nights where I'm coming in at 10 and getting off at 6. It's a struggle, because, you got to sleep during the day, and you kind of can't, because the people that are home are making noise. And then if you have kids,
they're making noise.
yeah. And then you're just sitting there going, I'm going to kill somebody. I don't know who, but somebody.
Yeah.
So you do that, and then you go to,
Well, because you're also working the schedule of like a police officer, right?
yeah. So
And
our officers work 12.
no matter who you are, you're still getting like the sleep disturbance,
Absolutely.
right? And I mean, sleep is very important.
Huge.
Yes.
Huge.
So when you don't have sleep, your brain just runs and runs and runs, and
Yep.
sometimes it could elevate the situation.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. So you do that for 2 weeks, and that's more of a, okay, are they going to be able to handle it if they are, if they're scheduled to be working deep nights? Are they going to be able to stay awake? Are they going to be able to deal with those calls? They're not going to be consistent necessarily. And again, it depends on your agency. It depends on where you're at. If you're in Dallas, I'm pretty sure if you're on deep nights, your night is busy all the time.
Right.
And it doesn't matter.
Right.
Or if you're someplace smaller, like, I don't know, I think
Prosper?
Princeton. Yeah, just something smaller than a major city like
You'll
Dallas,
probably just
Houston,
get
stuff
like,
that.
my cows are out.
Well, you'll have some. You get a lot of, well, for us, we've had a lot of foot pursuits recently. or stolen vehicles,
Oh,
like
food.
people running, foot pursuit, football, no, foot running.
Uh-huh.
But it just depends, and it
Um,
depends on the day of the week. Because weekends, that's when we get a lot. We're really busy.
yeah.
Now during the days, not at all for us. It's just like,
Oh,
best day
really?
ever. Yeah, but
Mm,
nights, totally different
that's
story.
your relaxing time.
Yeah, so sometimes we'll play a game. No,
Mm.
I'm just kidding. No, we do though. Occasionally, I mean, if it's that
Yeah.
slow where it's been like an hour, 2 hours, and there's nothing coming through, it's like, okay, you guys want to play like Skippo or Phase 10 or something? Not something. We do that. And
Mm.
anybody who says that they don't are liars. They lie to you. Unless they're a super busy agency, and that's kind of different. But you do, and then the next one is PD for the
Uh-huh.
police, and that's 6 weeks. And that is, that one was rough. That is a very, it's busy. It's a lot. Because we're sitting there all of a sudden, an officer will call out and say, 212 traffic stop. And you're like, oh, it's 212. So you go into the keyboard and you put it in what they're doing and their unit number. And then they say, okay, here's a license plate ABC1234. You put that in and then you wait for their cross. Like, where are you at?
Mm-hmm.
Are you at a business? Are you at, Custer and Virginia Parkway?
Mm-hmm.
And then so we do that. Then we get these things called returns, which basically is saying, hey, this is who the vehicle belongs to and they have insurance. Put that in and we're done. But we also get the, you need to send me back up. You need to step it up. Or you'll get back-to-back traffic stops. 212 traffic stop. 312 traffic stop. And they'll have to do that.
Right.
Often. But they'll do that. So you have to be able to do that. Or sometimes they'll key up and then say, put me on a motorist assist at. It's just, or hey, I'm an SRO. So, 536, put me out at,
Mm-hmm.
Independence High School, whatever.
Right. So is this
things like
something is there something that you saw yourself doing? No.
Well, I used to work at Anheuser-Busch before that.
To where?
Anheuser-Busch. So I sold beer.
Oh.
Sold beer. That was my thing. But see.
Was that after the Marines though?
Yeah, like years after the Marines. So I got out in 2004 and I was a stay-home mom. And then situations changed. And then I needed to find a job. So I started working at Anheuser-Busch.
Mm.
And then I did that. And then I worked for AT&T. And now I'm a dispatcher.
Mm.
Did I see myself doing that? No. But what I do love about it is there's a camaraderie about it. It's it's similar to the military, what I'm used to.
I hear that a lot from a lot of military people. It's like and that's pretty cool because especially because they're very proud and they're looking for that feeling to get back because they just
They
love
miss it.
they miss it, so they're looking for something that'll get them the same feeling and the same excitement out of it.
And the mentality is the same too. So some of the things that I say, Mara looks at me and is like, how is that funny? And I'm like, it's hilarious. No, it's not, Rachel. Even my kids are like, you're so corny, or that is not funny at all. And I'm like, I think it's hilarious. But if I was to tell it to somebody that was in the military,
they would find it funny.
oh, they find it funny, and they would totally get it, know. So there's a lot of that. And into if anybody's been into war or just been in the military, there is just something that connects us. There's some people that like to talk about things they've been through, and there's a lot that don't. So, but you can find that in like military and police departments, fire departments, things like that. You'll notice there's a lot that are they're in the military. Doesn't matter the branch. There's quite a few at my department. There's quite a few in our fire department as well.
Right.
One of the guys that comes and sits in our dispatch that handles COVID questions or needs to ask additional COVID questions.
So there's guys that are only for COVID.
Right. So so how this played out is because when we're sitting in dispatch, when COVID started, we had this sheet and we'd ask, have you traveled anywhere?
Oh, okay.
Been
It's
in
like the
contact
list of questions.
Right.
Oh, okay.
So people are calling us with all these questions, and we're not paramedics. We're not doctors or nurses, right? We just take the call.
You're dispatchers. You're not professionals,
right?
Like medical or whatever.
Correct.
Yeah.
So at that point, it was like, what? Okay, so ask these questions, and then we just our chief for PD and fire, and our city council members were like, hey, we just probably need to set up a COVID hotline if they have questions about where to test, or these are my symptoms. What do you think?
Mm-hmm.
And so what they did was they took, we would have firefighters come down, and they would all sit down. They would rotate and work about, I think it's 8 hours,
Wow.
7 to 3, 7 to 4 maybe. But they'll come down there and they'll sit. And anytime we get like a 911 call and it's like we're sending paramedics, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we're able to, we'll say, okay, I need you. So we'll go through our process. We have what's called EMD. So we'll do
The MD,
EMD,
EMD.
emergency medical dispatch. I think it's what's
Oh,
called.
okay.
So bad right now. Horrible acronyms. But so if they say, my grandmother, she fell. I'd put in, hey, she fell, and I would ask her serious questions. Is she still on the ground? Is she bleeding? Is she hurt? And things like that.
Are those part of are those questions in that list, or are those questions that you already know?
These are questions that come up if we're going to send a paramedic or they're requesting FD.
Okay, I see.
We have these things called Pro QA. And so it's basically us asking medical questions or saying, is like if you have an open injury, like your bone's sticking out.
Right.
We need to tell you how to address it, how to, whether it's apply pressure or what to do, what not to do until help gets there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But anytime we take those kind of calls, we'll say, hold on, I'm going to send you over to one of our paramedics. They're going to have a few additional questions. And then we'll transfer them over, and then our FD guy, they're all paramedics anyway, call and say, hey, I heard your mom fell, is she doing okay? And then they'll ask those questions. Because COVID's a thing, so they want to make sure, and they say, do you have a mask? And they'll say yes or no. We'll let our fire department who's en route say, hey, she doesn't have a mask, or they don't have a mask. They'll leave one for them. And then they'll, ask them the COVID question, shortness of breath, do you have a fever, anything like that.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Before COVID and after, how was the volume of the calls?
You mean, so before COVID, our shift particularly was consistently busy. And I don't mean busy to the point of like you've got injury crash after another, and then you've got a disturbance, and then you've got a shooting, nothing like that. But it's just more consistent. It's pretty busy. So you go in at 2, all of a sudden it's 8 o'clock and you're going, wait, what? Like that. It's just busy. It makes the day go by faster. Mm-hmm. So it was like that before COVID. Once COVID hit, it was brutal. It was really brutal because our call drops not stopped, but they dropped it dramatically. But once it got to a certain point of, it's been 3 weeks, it's been a month, we're not going back to school, we're not, then our call types became more frequent, but not like our typical day-to-day.
Right.
It became more
You definitely noticed the change of it.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. And it's sad. It's very hard. This whole COVID thing is just...
With all those, did you guys have enough people?
What, sitting in dispatch?
Yeah.
So when I was hired, I was, 3 at the time? And then we hired 2 more.
Mm-hmm.
So we were staffed. We had enough, for sure. But now where we're at max capacity. You're trying with that ice. Is it see? Melted.
You know what?
Still not coming back.
The bottom one's melted. Okay.
Nice.
I'm gonna give
you
up on
don't
that.
Any ice either.
I'm just gonna give up on that.
Yeah, warm liquor.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
The COVID.
Oh, COVID. Yes. But like I said, the calls consistently definitely went down significantly. The call types, specific call types, came up. Mm-hmm. And you feel bad, because everybody's tired. Why are we still sitting at home?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I have, you know me already, so I have my thing. But, why? Kids want to go back to school. They want to have some sense of normalcy. They're tired of being at home. You can't go anywhere for a while. And if you do, you got to have distance. Have you ever seen all those makeshift masks that people would make online?
No.
Oh my goodness. They're funny.
So my daughter just went to school.
Yeah.
Oh, big relief.
Did you cry?
I did.
You?
Yes.
Both of you?
Both.
I can see you guys sitting there. Oh, no, baby.
We're like, okay, what do we do now?
Yeah, and it's like that. It's like, oh, because you're
It,
so used to her being home,
yeah,
you know?
and it's. I mean, one of the reasons why at least I cried was because because also she handled it very well.
She wasn't like super sad. She was
No,
like, bye, mom. Bye, dad.
not
Love you.
not that well either.
Oh, really?
Like she was a little bit sad because
Right.
it's something new.
It's a new
It's
thing.
a new thing. So there was
Yeah.
still that nervousness. Like even before, like in the
Mm-hmm.
house, she was nervous. She says that she was getting butterflies in her tummy and all that.
No.
So that's okay, take the butterflies
Absolutely.
to school.
Exactly.
It's okay to feel nervous. We were
Yep.
telling him, every time we do something new, you get nervous.
Yeah.
And all you gotta do is just move on.
Yep.
You know,
Totally
because I
normal.
mean, the good thing was that I feel like it was a big advantage that we try to get her involved in a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
She's done jujitsu, she's done t-ball, she's done ballet, she jumps gymnastics. So she's kind of already used to that going into a new thing
Right.
and feeling that like a little bit of anxiety or nervousness and
But
stuff.
not to the point of like she can't function because she's
Yes.
scared. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's
Which
and
is
it's
a good thing to do for
yeah,
your kids. It's a great thing to do.
and it's important because I mean you gotta have that guidance.
Yeah.
And it's like that's one of the things that I wish I had when I was growing up. Like and growing up,
Yeah.
I didn't go to any sports. I
No?
didn't have no
No.
sports.
Really?
One time we tried out. Me and my friends tried out for tennis, just for fun.
Okay.
Just for fun. And I was picked. I was the only one out of my friends picked to
No
do
way.
tennis.
And you're like, what am I doing here?
But once I told my parents, and I have one, two, three brothers and one sister.
Mm-hmm.
So so I asked them that I got picked for tennis, but unfortunately, during that time
Right.
we couldn't really afford it. It was too expensive, and I was like, okay, fine, I'll just get out of it.
Yeah.
Done. And because of that, I ended up with the wrong crowd. I ended up doing graffiti and stuff like that. So it's like
Troublemaker.
if you're not busy in the right things,
Correct.
you're gonna get busy
In the
doing the
wrong
wrong
things.
things. Exactly.
100%. I agree.
Yeah. So that's why we try to get her involved in all these other things that
Mm-hmm.
are gonna be beneficial for her in the future.
Absolutely.
So that way she doesn't run up to the wrong circumstances,
right.
and hopefully she picks out good friends. So we'll see.
That's all you can hope for these days. That's all you can hope for.
Yeah.
No, and see when I was never involved in sports until I was about third grade, and my stepdad was like, "Finally, I got a piece of paper to sign you up for soccer."
Mm.
And so then from that point forward, I did soccer all
Oh,
the way up
really?
until my junior year. Yep. And when I was in the Marine Corps, I played for the Marine Corps then too.
Yeah.
So
And see, that's another thing to like, get yourself mental strength.
There's
Because
a
that
lot of
applies
things.
to it. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things that you can do that will help you mentally.
Yes.
It's just I think a lot of people have this defeatist attitude.
What do you mean?
Like they're defeated all the time.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh, I just can't do anything. Or oh, and I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. But you have to sometimes you gotta just climb above it. And it's hard. There's some things that are
Right.
extremely hard, but
Yeah.
push through. You'll be so much better off if you just
Right.
push through. You'll learn.
And
you'll grow as a
sometimes,
person.
sometimes there's people that hang around with other people that are alike.
Yeah.
So now, not only are you depressed, sad, and anxious, but now so is the other person you're talking to.
Yeah.
It's like you gotta break out of that circle.
Right. Right.
Like growing up, I had friends that all they wanted to do was play video games, and me, I was never that person. I
Yeah.
would want to play video games for like a bit, and then
Mhm.
I'd be like, okay, well, let's go do something.
Yeah.
And eventually I ended up just, if I knew, if I wanted to hang out, chill, and video games, yeah, I would go with them. But if I knew I wanted to
Do something else.
do
you would
something
go.
exactly,
Yeah.
but then
My
again,
friends like
it's
that
also
too.
like, you gotta have that balance
You do. You
of
do.
like chill, and then you gotta also focus on what's more important, and you
Mhm.
gotta also set up yourself with goals.
Absolutely.
And
Goals is
just
a good thing.
and just like you say, when you have anything, you just gotta do it.
Yeah, you got to pull through. And sometimes
Yes.
it's really hard. There's some days you're going to get up and it's going to be a long haul of just stop, stop, stop. Are you done? Like, are you done handing me this pile of crap? I'm done.
Right.
But it will strengthen you because if there's something else down the road that was a lot harder than what you're dealing with now, you're going to be able to take it. It's still going to be hard, but you'll be able to handle it better than you did before.
Right.
So,
Right.
like these
True.
trials and tribulations, it's a thing.
Right.
You need to, when you're in your lowest of lows, there's other people that are there too. But no matter how long it takes for you to rise above it, take your time, but just get there, get
Right.
above it. And a lot of people would just do that. And there's some people who are like, I've been trying my whole life. It'll never get there. And I
And
think
it's
I
like
can
that's not
understand that.
the
You know?
right mentality. Well,
It's not.
right.
But for some people,
And it's like
you know?
as long as you're doing it.
Yeah.
Like even though, and also I mean, okay, it's like another thing. Like, are you having fun with it? If you are having fun with it, then what's the problem?
Exactly.
And if you might not feel that it's taking you anywhere, but it kind of is, because you're already invest. Like if you're investing into something, even though you feel like you're not investing into it, like let's say you're not doing it, what other thing would you be doing?
Right.
Yep.
Yep.
And it's like with this podcast, it's like even though it's not out there and everything, but I can't wait to see the results 10, 20 years from now.
Right.
And I can't see the way people have changed. Like even,
Yeah.
as we having this conversation right now,
Uh-huh.
and then we have a conversation just like this 10, 20 years,
Yeah. It's going to be
we're
totally.
gonna exactly.
Wow. Wait, what?
It's like, what were we thinking? What were we talking?
You just see where your mentality is at, where
Yes.
you thought then and where you're now. And even looking back when you're like, okay, so I'm older, but looking back at like my 20s, I'm just like, what, I did that? That's what I
Yeah.
thought?
It's
What?
like everything's a learning process.
Life as a whole is a learning process.
Yes.
You're going to have super lows, you're going to have super highs, and you're going to have a lot of it's mediocre or I'm just content.
Right.
Take whatever situation that you're given and try to make the best of it.
Right.
And sometimes it's very, very, very hard for people.
Right.
For others, it's not such a big thing.
Yeah.
Just got to be persistent. That's
Right.
the biggest thing. Is be persistent. Know in the end it will eventually turn out for you. It
Right.
doesn't feel like it now, but I promise it
eventually.
will.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It'll definitely affect you some way.
Yep.
Some way, somehow.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So do you see yourself being a dispatcher for a while?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, the place that I work, the people that I work with, the people that I work for, absolutely. I love where I work. And I love the people that I'm with, that I'm able to talk to, learn from. And all of our personalities we're so different.
That's
But
good.
we're also
You
very
need to have
similar. But
that.
we're also very similar. We're
Okay.
all very like, tell me a problem, let's get it done, right? And
I like
some
that.
people,
Tell me your
it's
problem.
one of
let's
those
get it
things,
Or
you
tell
know.
me your problem. Let's solve it.
right? We'll do the best that we can.
Yeah.
There's one of my coworkers. She was in the Navy. She's a corpsman.
Mm-hmm.
We get along great, just because in certain aspect our mentalities, like that. But there's a lot of things that she gathered from the or from the Navy as a corpsman that she does outstanding well. She handles stuff differently, right? She can handle it maybe more gracefully than like I could. Like me, my thing is like I have people and I'm asking them questions and they want to tell me a 20-minute conversation. I'm like, I need Cliff Note versions here.
Right.
And then they're just, and the things they're talking about, and I'm like one of those people that I'm like, I'm doing this when I'm on the phone. And then all my coworkers like, Rachel, one of these days, they're going to hear that on one of the calls. And I'm going, I know, it's so bad. It's so bad. Because I'm like,
But you gotta understand the circumstance too.
Right.
Right.
And that's the thing. It's like by the time I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that was so annoying. Or this,
Right.
you know.
Oh.
Our emotions.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love my job. But as a whole, I really do like my job. And a lot of the officers that I've met, I've not met all of them.
Right.
But every officer that I have encountered, that I have dealt with, whether it be a sense of training for certain things or not, they're all very professional. I've never had somebody look at an officer and go, I totally question about you.
Mm.
I haven't had that, pop in my head.
Right.
But our deputy chief, our chief as a whole, is a great man. He likes to be transparent. This is what our policy is. This is how this works. Come to me if you have a problem or if you have a situation.
Okay.
But I've never sat there and gone, what the hell did I get myself into? I need to find another job. No, I don't see myself doing that with this job. I love it.
I know police officers are able to make complaints on like other police officers and stuff like that. Are you guys able to make complaints or? Oh, really?
You mean us as dispatchers or police?
Yes.
Okay, so us specifically, we're under the police department, but we are, but we're not. If that makes any sense. I don't know. But that's how it's put on paper.
I would think that you guys are part of the police department.
We are, but there's some that are not. They're just
really?
dispatchers. They're not attached to like a police department. They may be part
really?
to a county or right. It depends. It depends on the city,
Right.
and the county. Every place is different. But for us, we're a city. Do I believe if a officer feels that a fellow officer was out of line? Yes, they all have that right to say something. Mm-hmm. I don't know of any job anywhere in the United States that would say you can't do that. Mm-hmm. If you know somebody's doing something wrong,
true,
you have one obligation. Two, you have the right to go say, hey, I saw this person doing this or handling this, and this was inappropriate. They definitely can do that.
So that's good that you guys also have a voice in it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, we've never, all of our officers that come when they were allowed to come down, they'll say, hey, what's going on? Or, hey, we've had times where our compute system is off and we're on literal pen and paper. Okay, where are you at? What's going on there? And we're writing this stuff out, and then we're handing it to our police dispatcher. Say, can you dispatch us? And they have to find out on stickies and a piece of paper of what units are in what district, and they got to take it and they got to stick it on this piece of paper, and then they got to say, okay, and then dispatch it. Or if it's fire, it's the same thing. Mm-hmm. They'll come down and say, hey, you guys need anything? Do you need us to do anything? We'll stop traffic stops until you guys can get back up. Whatever. So they're very accommodating to us if they know down dispatch we've got something going on. But they're good people.
Now, is your whole dispatch team have most of them gone to the Marines or no?
Military? You mean?
Yeah, military.
No. So I think out of all dispatch, we have a gentleman that was in the Army, and then me in the Marines, and then that's currently with us now, at least as a dispatcher. She was in the Navy. We had a couple other people. One other female. She was in the Navy, but she's no longer with us. So I believe there's 3 of us. And if there's more, I'm sorry, I don't know. But for sure, I know there's 3 of us that were prior military.
Is there a difference between the ones that go to military and the ones that don't?
To a certain extent, yes. Not really. I mean, okay. It's more of just feeling people's personalities. What is it that you can talk about and somebody, one, not be offended,
right?
Or being worried about what's being discussed,
right?
But for, like I said, my particular shift with my supervisor and my fellow ladies that I work with, we're pretty much an open book shift, so we can talk about stuff and make fun and make jokes, and
that's good. And I mean, and under those stressful times, that's super helpful. No, to at
it is because it relieves.
Fun. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because sometimes it'll just. I mean,
it'll get to you.
And there are sometimes one of us is just like, "Would you just shut up, or I'll get to it." Like for me, when I get overwhelmed, I sit there and I'm like, not because I'm worried that something's wrong, but I'm just like, oh my gosh, let me get my crap together. And then somebody be like, Rachel, you okay? I'm like, I'm fine. I'm fine. Because I'm one of those people that I need to process it. Let me go through my processing steps and I'll get there. Where others are just like, meh, they go through it, no problem. Of course, they've been there longer than I have.
Right.
But that's just how I work in there sometimes.
Right.
I'll get overwhelmed. I'm like, is this really going on? Like structure fires? What? That's a whole nother thing. Those are kind of intense because you have multiple agencies.
What do you mean, structure fires?
Like my building's on fire. Structure
Oh,
fires.
what do you mean those are different?
So when we have structure fire calls, we have 4 units to go, and then we have to call a neighboring city to say, hey, we have a fire structure. We need you to send one of your units. And if they're not available, we call the next city. And if they're not available, we call the next city because that actually happened to us. And then we have to have, the police department en route because we have to have them cordon off area. And then we have to be able to understand what the fire department is saying with their mask and their oxygen.
Oh.
And sometimes it's hard, but our battalion chiefs that are there, they'll repeat what they say and in more clear, understandable, so that we can get it in. But that's a lot of moving parts. You have to, when that happens, any other activity of people saying, hey, can you run a driver's license or run a person by their name? The police department or the PD dispatcher, it's their job to run both those channels now. It's my sole purpose if I'm sitting on fire to log everything that's going on in the fire, what is being said, who's in command, what each unit is doing, if we have accountability for all of our fire personnel and things like that. It's intense sometimes.
Wow.
But
that's the job.
Whew, yeah. And you don't know what to expect until you are given a structure fire and you're going,
right,
guys. But what's great about my team is that, and this is with any of our shifts, but it's great because if you've never done it before, they're there to be like, okay, what's the first thing you do? You know what you're supposed to do. And you're like,
oh, okay.
Okay, I got to call them. Okay, great. Now you did that. What's the next thing I do? Okay, it's that. So sometimes you get kind of chaotic in your head and you're going, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? What am I supposed to do? I'm like freezing. And I will admit I did that once. Until my supervisor's like, Rachel, you know this. I was like, yeah. And then I was able to process through it. But this is also one of those jobs that you're kind of like wolves. Have fun.
Right. But that's why, just like wolves, you got to have a wolf pack.
You got to.
And you got to kind of back each other up.
And our unit definitely does that. As a whole, we do that. From our communications supervisor down to our newest person that was hired.
Right.
We're a team.
Right.
And there's sometimes, there is individual accountability in there as well. So if everybody else did their part, but you didn't do your part, you're going to be held accountable, right? So, it is a pack, it is a team effort. But if you didn't do something that you're supposed to do, you're going to be like, it happens. It happens.
Right.
Like this whole COVID thing threw a real monkey in the wrench because we have these these precautions we're supposed to take, right? So normally, depending on the call, we'll say, hey, we'll have an officer call you. Unless it's obviously an injury crash, or if it's a domestic call or something like that, then that's a little different,
Depends
right?
on the priority of your list. Right.
So for situations like that, we would just say, we'll have an officer call you, and 9 times out of 10, that's fine. But there's the way that our system is set up, we have like a little box that says, do they want contact? And you put like, yes, no, if needed, by phone. Well, we put that in there. But the thing is when the officer looks it up on their unit in their car, it doesn't show that part. So you're supposed to, as a dispatcher, say, hey, your calling party would like contact by phone. And we would put that in there. Well, this happened, and I did this. I had taken a call, and I put contact by phone. I did not put in the call notes for the officer to see. Officer shows up. Come to find out, this woman was positive for COVID.
Oh.
So because I didn't do my part by putting in contact by phone, I got in trouble for that. Why? Because now I have I have said, this officer, okay, great. So now he can't work. Why? Because I didn't input the correct information.
Right.
And then they have to go through the testing and stuff like that.
Oh,
and
wow.
even my supervisor, she's like, I'm not a fan of giving this to you, but because of this whole COVID thing and the situation, like, and I told her, I was like, well, it was bound to happen, but at least it was me, because I'm one of those people that if I'm wrong, and I know I was wrong, I will admit to it, but I will not make that same mistake again. And you can ask a lot of people that know me. It's just, I won't do it again.
Right.
So I did that once.
That's another thing. Like, you gotta, if you did a mistake, it's okay. I mean, we all makes mistakes.
They happen.
It happens, but you gotta own to it
And learn from it.
and learn from it.
Yes.
Yes.
There's a lot of people that be like, yeah, I did it, so, and they don't learn from it. And,
Right.
and it's a repetitive cycle. It's like, bro, you just not get it the first time, you know?
Right. Or then you have those people that did something bad and they don't want to take responsibility of it.
Absolutely.
They find excuses and then they blame other people for it.
Yeah.
It's like, no, like we're humans.
Yep.
We gotta make mistakes.
Right.
We're gonna make mistakes no matter what, and
Absolutely.
it's okay to make mistakes.
It is.
And we just gotta learn from it, move on. But not only that, it's like you're also giving out an example that it's okay.
Right.
And now the next person that sees that, if they make a mistake, they'll do the same thing.
Correct.
And that's what happens when we're doing mistakes. It's just something new to us.
Yeah, you have to take. I mean, it's okay, and I think a lot of people feel like if I admit that I'm wrong, that I'm going to be labeled this, or I'm this now. That's not true. I mean, there are extenuating circumstances for certain situations. I don't want to tell you about that. You have to own up to those, and if not, somebody will make sure you owned up to them, and you don't want to be that person either, right? But own up to them. Realize where your mistake was, whether it's at work, whether it's a relationship, whether it's with your kids, whether it's your parents, what you said, how you reacted, what you did after. Own up to it. Right. Is there a book that says how to live a perfect life? There will never, well, you go by the Bible. But again, you have a perfect individual. That's something totally different. But we are human. We have free will. We have the choice to make the decisions that we make.
Right.
Period. It doesn't matter where you come from, who you are, how you were raised. When you get to that age of accountability, you have a choice.
Right.
You can do the right thing or you can do the wrong thing. And sometimes people think doing the right thing is harder, or I'm not get the gratification, or it's not going to give me what I want. I'm not going to do it. I'll do this because I can get this, this, and this. Right. It's not the way to think. Sometimes doing the right thing is longer, it's harder, and you're not going to get the benefit of it right away. But if you do something wrong, you're going to get that real quick.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have nobody to blame but yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Are there circumstances and situations where you just happen to be at the wrong place, the wrong time? 100%. 100%.
Right. I think that's why also a lot of people go towards the wrong way, because that's a faster response. Once I do something wrong, I know I'm going to get a response right away.
Yep.
It's just, not only a response, but attention.
It's the instant gratification.
Yes.
Oh, look at me. And
yes.
And that's a thing that's very prominent these days in age. I mean, when I was a kid, first of all, the coolest thing I got was a pager, and that's when I was like a junior in high school. That's how old I am. And it's fine. It's totally fine. But, it's very different from then to now. We have social media. We have the internet. We have all the time. 100% access all the time. And I think as great as it is, it's done a lot of bad. I think because people will depend on this more than like human interaction or just day-to-day stuff.
Well, it's funny. I forgot where I heard this. But they were saying that for anybody, whoever, like if there was a person going to surgery, and that person would be put in sleep, when that person wakes up before. For a man.
Okay.
The first thing that he would do as soon as he wakes up is check his
is it there?
His package. Yes.
Yeah.
Because that's always a concern,
Yeah.
But now if a guy goes into surgery and he wakes up, the first thing he does is check his phone.
That's sad.
Yeah.
Okay, well, wait a minute. Okay, it's not sad, but it kind of is, because
it makes sense.
It makes sense.
Yes,
it does. It does.
Yes, because now, I mean,
forget my package. Who liked my picture?
Let me check my notifications.
Right?
Yes.
Got 1,000 likes.
Yes.
Oh
yes.
Yeah. Totally. It's horrible. It's horrible. I'm sorry. I just can't get behind the whole. I just can't.
Yeah.
I mean, I have Instagram. I have Facebook. I can post on anything. I just like a bunch of stuff where I'm like, oh, really? Well, what about this? Not that I'm inciting any kind of argument. I It generally just comes to me. I think I'm a magnet for it. But
Right.
I just don't see a real.
Right.
It's not gonna dictate my life. What I read on this, what I do on this is not gonna dictate my life or the choices that I make.
Right.
Right?
And you know what? Now, I mean, people are kind of putting out there their personality.
Oh yeah.
Because I mean, if people are just complaining, posting all this negative thoughts, it's like, okay,
Yep.
if that's what you're investing most of your time, that's
Mm-hmm.
most likely going to be you.
Exactly.
If you're putting negative content
Mhm.
and, you're putting all this stuff, that's your personality
Yeah,
already. And you're
absolutely.
putting it out there.
Yeah. I mean, I'm totally an advocate for, like, with my daughter. She has her moments, and I'm okay with if that's what you need to put out there because that's what you're feeling in the moment. That's fine. But I do have a line of, no, ma'am, you're gonna take that off. But I feel like it's okay to express yourself to a certain extent. But
Yeah,
there's
that's
certain
true.
things I won't, like, I mean, anything about suicide or hurting somebody else. Yeah,
Yeah.
me, no. If that's where you're at, you can come talk to me. We'll find something else, but you don't need to post that on there because once it's on, everybody needs to understand when you post something on the media, like on the internet, it's there forever.
Yeah.
Unless you're Hillary Clinton and you have it bleached. Just kidding. But but it is on there forever, right?
Yes, it
So
is.
you have to understand that.
Even if it's not on yours, I'm pretty sure somebody has that from you.
Okay, so for instance, my daughter, my youngest, Evelyn, she went on Google and typed in her name, and guess who names pops up? Mine. And guess whose picture shows up? Mine. And it's a picture from 2010.
Uh-huh.
Like dark hair, I had bangs,
Mm.
totally different. And Evelyn goes, "Mom, is this you?" And I went, "Where did you find that?" She goes, "I put in my name." And I went, "I'm sorry, your name?" She didn't put in mine. She put in her name.
And yours came
But my
up.
picture came up. That's scary.
What?
That's super scary. And that was last year that she showed me that. And I was going, oh no. But that's the thing. Like I said, it is there forever. And I don't have that picture up anywhere. It's been deleted off of all of my stuff. Gone. Fine. Bye.
But not the internet.
Yeah, the internet. And that's what people do not understand. That's why these people that make some of these insane comments, these insane posts, are really quick to delete it. But what's funny is somebody somewhere out in this world
Has it?
right? The thing you guys need to understand, what you post is going to be there forever. It doesn't matter you deleted it a year ago, 2 years ago. And I've been on
Right.
Facebook since 2007. Oof.
You haven't been on Facebook?
No, I have been
Oh, okay.
since 2007 when it came
Oh,
out.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
So again, could you
Yeah.
find me? Yeah, if you
I
want
didn't
to.
get on Facebook till probably 2011. Because when
Wow. You young whippersnapper. I'm just kidding.
yeah, when I started on some type of social media, it was MySpace. I was at
That was the best platform ever. I don't care what anybody says. That's the best platform ever.
I just saw a post earlier that said, you know what? MySpace was the only like legit platform because Tom
Your top friends,
Yeah.
you knew who liked your stuff, who
and
was there.
that's it.
Yep.
You know, all Tom wanted was to be his friend.
Accurate.
He didn't want
So
to.
accurate.
He didn't want to gather your data.
Right?
Yeah.
They want to know about
He
your
didn't
life.
want ads.
Nope.
He didn't want to know about your life. He just wanted you to
Hey,
be
you
his
could
friend.
pick the next best song that you wanted. You could change your background anytime you wanted. I mean, come on.
That was cool.
By the way, you can still get on it because I can still get on mine.
Really?
Yeah.
When's
It
the
looks
last time
very
you get on?
different. Oh, God. Probably 3 years ago.
Oh.
I think I was like, MySpace.
Uh-huh.
Somehow able to get on. So definitely not what it used to be, but
Yeah, it
MySpace
definitely
is
has
fine.
changed.
oh yeah, Facebook. That's what.
Yes.
Over,
Well,
unfortunately.
like I said, when I was I was finishing high school, and Facebook was kind of like a cool thing. Only if you
Mhm.
were like an adult, you would get on Facebook.
Yeah, old boring people. I was like 26 when I got on Facebook, and Tom was like, "This is so cool."
Yeah, so because I remember my chemistry teacher, she was on Facebook, but I was still in MySpace, and she and I would be like, well, can I follow you? I'm like, no, she's like, I'm only on Facebook, I'm not on MySpace. Like, oh, Okay.
She's elevated herself.
Yeah.
I'm on the adult platform,
Yeah.
not for you young children.
And it's just like it moves up, like
Yeah.
from Facebook, there's Instagram, and now from Instagram, there's TikTok.
Yeah, yeah, Emily's all about that. I'm like, this is so stupid.
It's crazy.
I mean, I have coworkers that send me some of them, and
They're
they're
funny.
pretty funny.
They're
And
funny.
I'm like,
They're
that's pretty
funny.
good. And other ones, I'm just like, this doesn't make. Is this what you watch? Like, this is entertainment to you? I'm like,
I think
okay.
it's good as long as they keep it like that. Cause see, the problem. I
Yeah.
think the problem with a lot of these platforms is that the main narrative of it changes.
Oh yeah.
You
I
know,
agree.
like before when Facebook just started,
Mm-hmm.
Facebook was all about connecting and making your network bigger and,
Mm-hmm.
talking to other friends, posting, how you felt, what you thought. And now all of a sudden it's become more political.
It's political.
Yes.
It's ads.
Yes.
Hey, I heard you talking about Alexa. Look what just happens to show up on your Facebook ad. Or,
Yeah.
I don't know how many times I've sat there and like talked to stuff about, hey, I was thinking about getting this, and all of a sudden what shows up on my phone, I'm like, y'all need to stop being so damn nosy.
Right.
But that's today. It's you talk about it. It's almost like you think about it and your phone's like, I know what you're thinking.
Yes.
And it pops up and you're going,
Right.
I'm dumping in some water and be like, Satan, be done with you, right? Which you can't, because that's not the case.
Right.
But that's what it feels like,
Yeah. I feel like now we should create like a platform that's like a non-profit.
I'm sure there's some that are out there, but they just don't have the
Yeah.
network available or enough people on it. Be like, hey, try this.
Right.
What's it called? I don't know. So there's people that like conservatives are like, Facebook's banning us, and Facebook's, making sure we can't talk about stuff like that. But there's like another app for it, but it's more geared towards I guess, would be conservative ideals and opinions. But it's an open platform where you can
Right.
be okay to disagree, and we can have that conversation. Nobody's going to censor
And
you.
that's important. You gotta have that conversation.
You have to have that conversation.
Yeah.
And so much mainstream media, and Facebook, Instagram, because they're all owned by the same damn rich people. It's the same thing. They're all censoring. You can't have an opinion. You can't think this. And if you think this and you talk about it, well, we're just going to put this as false. That they're gearing us to think a certain way. They want us
Right.
to behave a certain way. And a lot of people are going and doing that and thinking like that. You got to think outside the box.
Yep.
Even if you just use Google, use DuckDuckGo, or whatever the heck it's called. You can use it's a different Safari. I'm not kidding you, which is to show me up, but it's a little duck. But it's another search engine like Google.
Uh-huh.
And if you don't want to use Google because you think
Yeah.
this, you can go to other platforms and you can pull stuff
Yes.
up. Just do your research.
Right.
One thinks one way, one thinks the other. It's okay to
Right.
have conversation. It doesn't mean you have to hate them. It doesn't mean you have to stop talking to them. It doesn't mean you have to disown them. Have open dialect. You can
Right.
agree to disagree. That is totally okay.
Right.
But people fail to do that. It's emotions.
Right.
It's based off of that. It's
Yeah.
not conversation. It's not statistics. It's not facts. Or hey, let's do some research. You do yours on yours, and I'll do mine on mine.
Right.
It's not like that.
And it's like when you first see something, right away it triggers you,
Oh yeah.
and
Oh,
it becomes like
guilty.
an emotion.
Totally guilty. And then I'm like, okay,
Yes.
put your child in her closet, and then you gotta talk about it.
Yes,
right?
exactly. It's like
Yeah.
you gotta step back. Okay, give yourself some time
Oh.
to acknowledge it, and then handle it. Because if you let your emotions get in the way, things are gonna end up bad.
100%. And then
It-
it just becomes an arguing match.
Yes, yes. And it's like, no, you gotta step back. Okay, why do you agree with this?
Mm-hmm.
Give me the facts. And then once you're done with your point of view, let me give you my point of view. And then, we'll meet in the middle.
And that's the thing is everybody thinks you have to be one or you have to be the other, but you don't.
Yeah.
You can agree with this, but disagree with that, and
Right.
vice versa. It doesn't matter. But
And you can still be friends.
imagine that. That's a thing, People don't like to admit it. But it is. There are some people on my Facebook that I see their stuff and I'm like, I have so many choice words and so many things I just want to spit at you because what you are spewing is pure hate and evil. But I'm not, because I'm above that, one. And two, I want to make sure that if I have that discussion with you, I'm going to have facts. I'm going to have
Right.
statistics, and I'm going to have history to prove my
Right.
points.
Right.
Because you can't go to like, "Ugh, that was stupid. I don't agree with that."
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Everybody can disagree. But as long as we have a open conversation and say at the end of the day, be like, "I don't agree with half the crap you do." And the other person can say the same. It's like, "All right, that's great, but you're still my friend. I still love you." Because there's quite a few, like I said, that I completely disagree with politically. But you know what? They're still my friends. I'd
Right.
still go to bat for them at the end of the day. They may think that, and I don't agree with it, I don't like it, but I value them as a person. They're my friend. They're my,
Right.
you
And
know?
think we gotta have like this, 2 hour long conversations
Mm-hmm.
where we really get into it
Yeah.
versus 2 minute, 5 minute
Right?
conversations where, it's pretty much free for all,
Absolutely.
you know?
And I mean, having healthy debate is not a bad thing. And a lot of people think, well, you're not going to listen to me, and you don't believe what I believe. You're irrelevant, and you're A, B, C, D, E. That's okay. Let's get into the big world. That's not how that works, right?
Right.
And that's where a lot of people, I feel like, are at these days.
Yeah.
It's just, and it's sad to see.
It's like we gotta get back to having a conversation
Mm-hmm.
and not, what would you call it? And not
An
like,
emotional argument.
oh,
I mean,
yeah,
that's
yes,
what it feels like.
an
you
emotional
know,
argument.
and it
Yeah.
shouldn't be like that.
Yeah, it shouldn't be like
Um,
that. We should have a full blown conversation about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you know what? That's why it's hard with this whole COVID thing because you're not. A lot of people are not able to have this one-on-one conversation.
Right.
So
Right.
now they're texting each other where there's no emotion attached,
Right.
or they're DMing each other where there's no emotion
Or
attached.
it's all in caps and 17 exclamation points.
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. It's
Hopefully a lot of people wake up to this and realize and appreciate the human nature of it, and appreciate having conversations and really talking about things with people you care about.
right. And that's my biggest thing. My daughter, there's some things in her and I just don't agree with.
Right.
And that's okay. Granted, she's my daughter. I'm always going to love her. I'm always going to put up with her 'cause she's my kid. But there's things we don't agree with politically. And that's okay. I have a lot of friends, like I said, I don't agree with.
And you need those people.
And you do, because there's a friend of mine. I love her. I met her in the Marine Corps. She's a dear friend of mine. Where she sits out on some of these things, I'm just like, oh my God, how could you have been in the Marine Corps and this is how you are? But I have to understand, maybe she's had a different circumstance, or she's had a different
Right,
situation with stuff
yeah,
that maybe I don't
true.
know about.
Yes.
At the end of the day, I know she's a very caring, she's a loving friend. She'll listen to you. She'll give you the best advice that she can, and she'll still be there at the end of the day, whether she agrees with you or not. I think we need more people like that.
Right.
If you can't be like that, then it's kind of like a wall and a cliff. Where are you at?
Right.
Me and Marvin, for instance, or some things we just don't agree on. And he's like,
Right.
"Shut up, Rachel. I don't want to hear about it." I'm like, "But you need to."
Right.
It's not going to move anybody, right?
Right.
People have to take what they hear. Either they can be like, I think I'm going to look on that, or, and then go with it.
Right.
It's okay to disagree, people, but you don't have to hate each other. You
Yes.
don't,
It's like we're all in this together.
right? So we're all going to sink or we're all going to float.
Yep.
So what do you want it to do? I feel like today they want everybody to sink. And if you happen to want to make it float, it's unacceptable because you're against all of these things. And that's not the case, period.
Right.
But there's things that are set in place that pushes it that way.
Yeah.
And because you have young children,
Right.
their mind, they're sponges, right? They're not
Yes.
grown. So let's feed this. Let's get what we
Right.
want. And us as parents, we have to realize, no, that's not how this works, right? It's okay. They're going to tell you these things. Is it wrong? Maybe, maybe not. But you need to do, as an individual and as going to be an adult, you got to do your own research. Just like when you have to turn in a paper, write about the Civil War. Okay, great. It was this and this. But was it really?
Right.
You know what I mean? Life is the same
have to do
way.
this. Yes.
You have to,
That's true.
And
that's yeah.
And if you can't, that's okay. That doesn't mean you can't go to, you think this, why? And you think this, why? So what do you think is the disconnect? What is it that you could both agree on? What is something you'll never agree on? What's a middle ground, you know? And for some people, you'll never have that middle ground. They're just going to
Right.
think that they want to think,
Yeah.
and that's that.
And for those type of situation, I think it's important to, once you get to that point where your idea is just not getting through, you need to just accept them as it is.
Right.
You know, I'm accepting that you already like that.
Mm-hmm.
That you're not gonna change your morals, you're not gonna change your opinions,
Mm-hmm.
and you're gonna stay just like the person that you are.
Right.
You know what? And that's fine. If that's you, great. And if you find that out, years from now,
Mm-hmm.
then great. Maybe we'll have the discussion again.
Right.
And
You hope for that.
yes,
You hope for that.
yes,
Yes.
in a more civilized
An emotional.
and less emotional
Right.
conversation.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all you hope for.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, there's people that have blocked me, and it's not because I was mean or screaming and cussing and calling them all these names and you're this because you think that. It was, okay, you're taking one thing, for instance, biblical scripture. People like to take certain parts out of the Bible
Mm-hmm.
and then apply it to this, but they don't take the entire,
Yeah.
right? And I'm only using that as an example.
Right.
But you could do that with anything.
Yes.
And her and I had this discussion, and she blocked me. And there was another man who blocked me, and a Marine and I went, what? Why? Like, why?
Yeah.
Because you don't agree with me? That's fine, but that doesn't mean you need to stop having relationships with you, whether it's a friendship or family. A lot of families are doing that.
Right. It's like when you do something bad, okay, you did something bad, and there's some people that are like, you know what, she's a bad person, she did this.
Yeah.
Okay, but what led up to that?
Right.
How did she have guidance?
Mm-hmm.
Did she have people that influenced her in the wrong way and the right way? What's the whole story about it?
Right.
You got to take all these things into consideration.
And a
You
lot
can't
of
just
people
jump the
don't.
gun. Yeah.
And that's a lot of things that I've noticed, too, within the past couple months.
Yeah.
Specifically, justice.
Yeah.
This, or they didn't deserve that, or this is how it should have played out. It's like, okay, right. You're taking a portion of something that's this long,
Mm-hmm.
right? I understand you feel like it's specific towards a person or a race or something. And in some situations, it absolutely is. Call it a spade a spade. Does that happen? You better damn believe it. But in most situations, it's not. There's always a reason. And people need to look at the full picture. And even at the end of the day, if they've seen the whole situation, they've seen all the facts, and they still have that conclusion or that opinion, so be it.
Right.
But at least they read it. At least they looked at the whole picture, not a portion of it.
Right.
Because social media likes to give you what? A portion of it.
Yeah.
Not all of it at once, right?
Right.
So that's something to think about too. Like I'm just as guilty. Like I said, I'm like, oh, I can't believe they put that crap. Or that's how you feel. What? Right? So I want to be like dislike. Oh, really? Again, that's not how it works.
And you know what? If you know that it's affecting you in a negative way, and you know that you just cannot put up with it, it's not forced on us.
No, it's not. We all have a choice.
We all have a choice.
Unfollow. Which I've done.
Unfollow, or just
Unfriend.
delete Instagram, delete Facebook, delete TikTok,
Done
whatever you want to do. Just delete it.
I've done that.
You
I've
know?
deleted I have Facebook Messenger, and that's all I'll have. Right? I get rid of the app because it's time consuming because it's like, duh. It's mind numbing, right? There's no thought process. There's no I have to do anything. It's just,
Because the billionaires that are making those platforms, they know what's going on.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
They know how to get you.
Yep.
They know that, as soon as you want on a phone, it's like satisfying for you.
It
just
is.
to scroll down.
Yep.
Just getting your finger on it.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. I don't like that, but I like that one.
They know that.
Yeah.
So, but you have to kind of know that know your power.
Mm-hmm.
That your mind is powerful. That you're able to do whatever you want to do.
You're in control of
You're
your own
in
mind
control.
and body.
What you do, what you think, everything.
Yep.
You can easily delete that.
Yep.
And do stuff that's more productive.
Yeah.
Go read a book.
Read a book. Go take a walk.
Go take a walk. Go try something new.
Yeah.
There's a million of things to do.
All the time. But there's always that excuse of, well, I don't have money. Well, I don't have access to that. Okay.
Well,
There's always
yeah,
excuses for something,
yeah,
right? But at the end of the day, it's like you were saying earlier, we have access to more things now
yeah,
than our parents did or our grandparents
yeah,
did, right? And a lot of people fail to understand that. And some people are like, oh, really? We have to have health care. Or, oh, really? They're not going to listen to me. Or, um, you know, uh, there's a plethora of things that they'll go and
yeah.
throw in there. Um, and I understand that. But if it's something that you really need and you know you want, there are avenues. It's just
Right.
you're going to have to take the extra step to get it.
Yeah, and I think
And
that's what a lot of people don't want to do. They don't want to
correct.
put in the work.
Correct. And then it's like, all you got to do is like put in Google, mental health or a good way to lose, good aerobics. So, I don't know, something, anything.
Right.
You have unlimited things to look at on the internet. So
Right.
Google will tell you what you want. Just
Right. It's
gotta
like,
put it
okay,
in.
you don't have you want to start up a coffee shop.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you have money? No. Okay. That's fine. There's there's a ton of ways to make money. Go work at McDonald's. Go work at
Right?
Burger King, ever, wherever.
Right.
Just get the momentum going.
Yes.
Once you get a little bit of money, if you want your goal to own a coffee shop,
Mm-hmm.
become a what do you call it? Like a coffee?
Entrepreneur?
No, like a barista?
Barista?
The barista. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
So learn about coffee.
Right.
Learn about what materials you need.
Mm-hmm.
Once you start
Yeah.
working, buy the materials that you need. Once you have the materials that you need,
Mm-hmm.
look for buildings.
Right.
Look to see, what are the buildings that you can afford.
Yep.
Kind of do all the work around it.
Right.
So that way, once you're there, you already know what to do. Or, your first job, if you want to own your coffee shop, work at a coffee shop.
Right. I mean, Starbucks.
Yes.
$1 billion company is in almost every country, I'm
Yes.
assuming at this point.
Yes.
Where did it start? So obviously I'm from Washington State. I grew up in Olympia. I didn't grow up in Seattle. But
Uh-huh.
you go up to Seattle, that same Starbucks, the first one that was ever created, is still there. They're still doing the same thing that they've been doing. There's always a starting point. It's never, unless you're like a millionaire. Most of these things take time, take dedication, take, looking at things, business, how does it all work?
Work.
What do I need to do?
Yes.
Right? So people just think, well, I'm just going to go, like McDonald's, for instance, it's a franchise, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can go and you can buy one, but do you know how much it's going to cost you?
Yeah,
Millions of stinking dollars, because that's how much it is to own your own McDonald's.
right.
But that's not something that you just get overnight. That takes,
Right.
you got to work in McDonald's.
Yeah.
You got to see how it works. You got to work your way up from flipping a burger to the drive-through to working the register, being able to count cash back to becoming a supervisor. Now you're a manager, right? And then it's a thing. It takes time. It's a process.
And that's what I've learned, that it's also something that you learn also in the military is self-discipline.
Oh, yeah,
Because,
absolutely.
patience is also part of self-discipline.
Mm-hmm.
That even though it takes time, you got to have patience,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to have perseverance that eventually you will get there.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how long or whatever, you just got to keep on doing it.
Right.
Like everything, you showing up to work every day
Mm-hmm.
is self-discipline.
Right.
Showing up to work on time,
Mm-hmm.
and disconnecting yourself from work and from going home.
Right.
That's discipline. That's like,
Mhm.
Okay, work is done. Now it's time from home. I have to disconnect.
Right.
Because the people that are at home are not the same people that I work with.
Correct. 100%.
And
Yeah.
they didn't go through what I went through. So everybody has their own scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And and also, like, when I do this podcast, sometimes it's tough.
Yeah.
And it's like
Right.
the discipline of me of, even though it takes time and it's
Mhm.
work that I have to go find somebody else to do the podcast with me, I still have to do it.
Right.
Even though I don't want to, I still have to do it.
It's a
And
thing. It's a process.
it's a process.
It
And
is,
it's
100%.
you have to apply self-discipline to yourself.
You do.
That no matter what, if you set yourself up a goal, do it. Just like you said.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
and that's a hard thing. It's like, why would you just do that? I'm like, I don't know, because I'm just supposed to do it.
Yeah.
And for some people, it's like, and they like to be, and I'm very analytical in my, like, I've always been analytical my whole stinking life. And most of the time, it's not a good thing. But sometimes it's a good thing, right? But for me, why are you not doing it? Why shouldn't you?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
So you always have that argument. I really appreciate that fact that the Marines was just like, do it. And it's like,
Right.
okay, we'll figure it out.
Right.
But even with, and sometimes people feel like I've persevered. I have been pushing for the past 10 years. I've been pushing for 15 years. When is it going to be my turn? When is it going to be about me?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's not something you're doing right. Maybe if you were to network and say, hey, you know what? You do this for a living, right? Yeah. Okay, so what did you do? Sometimes it's perseverance pays off, patience pays off, and working at it does pay off. But sometimes you'll need that little extra tweak in there. You're going to need that little extra of, maybe try this. And maybe that one time you ask somebody, it'd be like, all right, I'll try it. And then it completely changes everything, right? And sometimes people feel like that because they've been doing it for so long that they're not getting it, that it's just a failure. It's just never going to work. Not true. Find somebody that is in that field for a job or a business and ask them, how did you do it? Well, what did you do to change it? You know? And you can change your life like that.
Right.
In a heartbeat. You know? But it just takes that extra time.
Yeah.
Takes that little bit of putting a little bit more work
And
for you to get where you want.
Tweak it as you go.
You do. That's life. You tweak life however you need it to go.
Yep.
Right? So you have options. You have plenty of options.
Right.
The people that want to say, I'm limited. I can't. It's because this. I just want to be like, like why? Like, why? What is your excuse? I don't understand. And if you feel like that, ask somebody. Be like, hey, I need this. Where can I go? How many? What are it, like 8 billion people in the world or something?
Yeah, something like that.
Right. So there's like how many millions of people in the United States?
Yeah.
And you can talk to somebody in China. You can talk to somebody in, England or South America or, Chile.
Yeah.
South
it's
Africa.
Like communication now is limitless.
Right. So if you know somebody else successful, maybe in another country, what is it that they did? Maybe you could take that and apply it here. You'll be fine.
True.
But it's just, I don't know.
Well, we've done 2 hours.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I have a lot of information. No text messages. We're okay.
Nice.
Yeah. Severe weather alerts. Those are great. Right?
Welcome to Texas.
I know, right? You're going to have torrential flooding. Oh, by the way, you're just going to have really hot heat, so don't go outside. Oh, by the way, here's some snow. Texas. You got to love it.
Well, this was fun, Rachel.
Yeah, it was. A lot of
Thank
fun.
you for doing this.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
No problem.
And hopefully later on we'll get to do it again.
Hopefully.
Yes.
Maybe not in 10 years, though.
Okay. 5.
2. Okay. Just kidding. 5's good.
All right, bye.